Welcome to Political Beatdown. I'm Ben Meiselas, joined by Michael Cohen. I think that your prediction about the bromance between Donald Trump and Elon Musk falling apart and in disastrous fashion is coming to fruition. And, one of the things, I say, whether
Ben,
it's to the supporters of the
Ben,
Cohen, what? You want me to pat you on the back? Pat you on
there
the
you
shoulder?
go. There you go. That's my brother.
I
That's
was
my brother
I
from
was
another
about to
mother.
give you. I was about to go and just give you the whole pat on the shoulders. I was going to
Please
say,
keep going. I'm
whether
enjoying it.
now I'll do it in an underhanded way. Whether you're a supporter of Cohen or not a supporter of Cohen, I will tell you that the insight that he has about Donald Trump's thinking is usually borne out to be accurate in ways that nobody is predicting at the time. And I'll remind you all that when Cohen was testifying in Congress multiple times, what Cohen said frequently and got a lot of crap for is, you said, I guarantee you he's not going to go. And you basically predicted January 6th, 2 years before January 6th happened, how it was going to happen, how Trump was going to do it. And so your insight into Trump and Musk, you compare to the way MBS, who Donald Trump admires, the leader of Saudi Arabia, kind of brought in all the others in the royal family into the Four Seasons and basically held them at gunpoint.
Was it the Four Seasons or the Ritz-Carlton?
It was one of them.
I think it was the Ritz-Carlton in
brought
Riyadh.
them all in and basically said, transfer your money into my bank account right now. Right. And I'll give you a little bit to keep and then get the hell out of Saudi Arabia and live your life somewhere else, or totally. And so you said, actually, the people, Ben, who are in that first wave, you even said, even before potentially me, you said it's actually Elon Musk. And because Trump looks at their wealth and Trump is jealous and he wants it for himself, and he thinks, I'm the president, you're just a guy who sucks up to me. Why do you have more money than me? Give me your money. And so you take a look at what went down today also, and I think this is going to be getting kind of bigger and bigger. You have Elon Musk posting, I'm sorry, but I just can't stand it anymore. This massive, outrageous, pork-filled congressional spending bill is a disgusting abomination. Shame on those who voted for it. You know you did wrong. You know it. And then he responds to his post, it will massively increase the already gigantic budget deficit to $2.5 trillion and burden American citizens with crushingly unsustainable debt.
Coming from the guy with Doge, who ended up taking 80,000 people out of just the VA alone, who was in the process of cutting Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security, who's a guy who has gutted education and all the other institutions, the guardrails that are designed to protect us. Yeah, thank you, but how about no thank you? Hey, Ben, can I share with you, and I would like for you to expand upon this, please. It's not just MBS that Donald Trump admires. We also know that it's Vladimir Putin. And I am certain you recall, it was not too many years ago that Vladimir Putin, because Russia's economy was in the toilet, called up all of the Russian oligarchs, told them that they were all to meet in Russia at the presidential palace, and he had them each turn over billions and billions of dollars, which was allegedly put into the coffers of Russia so that they could, I don't know, maybe start to engage in this war with Ukraine. I don't know if you remember that. I remember it like it was yesterday. He admires things like that. Xi Jinping did it to a series of Chinese of Chinese billionaires, where he turned around and he jailed them in their own homes, of course, put them under house arrest, and they had to buy their way back to freedom. I mean, this is the autocratic mentality. This is what Donald Trump intends to do. And yes, I did. I called it long before, not because I'm some guru or I have, some DNA from Nostradamus. It's simply because I spent so much time with him that I actually understand the way that he thinks. I know his tics. I know his tells. And at the end of the day, there's a lot of things. There's a lot of things that I have predicted, for the most part, that have actually come to fruition. And I'll be honest, I'm not happy about it because I wish I was wrong.
So now you have, whether it's MAGA Mike Johnson, the Republican Speaker of the House, or MAGA Republican John Thune, Senator from South Dakota, they now have to respond to the fact that the person they've hoisted up on this pedestal, basically as a co-president, who they've said, this guy's a genius, his algorithms has figured it all out, this guy's the greatest. Well, the guy who you just said is the greatest, the person, the unelected co-president who's just destroyed our federal government and engaged in this hostile takeover, he's now saying that this budget bill is a complete disaster. And what's your response? So here's how they try to respond. This is Senator Thune, the GOP leader in the Senate. Here's what he has to say today. Play this clip.
Are you concerned that he could help tank this bill and whip members against it? Do they listen to him or they listen to you?
Well, my hope is that as he has an opportunity to further assess what this bill actually does, that he'll come to a different conclusion. But nevertheless, I mean, we have a job to do, the American people elected us to do. We have an agenda that everybody campaigned on, most notably the President of the United States, and we're going to deliver on that agenda. And the legislation as passed by the House can be approved here in the Senate, can be strengthened in the Senate in a number of ways. We intend to do that, but when it's all said and done, we will send it back to the House and hope that they can pass it and put it on the President's desk. And as I said, it does everything that we set out to do. It modernizes our military, secures our border, extends tax relief and makes permanent tax relief that will lead to economic growth and better jobs in this country, and makes America energy dominant, coupled with the biggest spending reduction in American history. So those are our agenda items, and that's what we campaign on. That's what we're going to do.
There's certainly.
So now he has to respond. Your reaction?
Yeah, Ben, let me just say, I sit and I sometimes watch as these senators, these representatives in Congress, they toe this Trump line, a line that I remember going back into 2015, 2016, when we would prepare the talking points memo that was to be repeated over and over and over again by anyone and everyone acting as a surrogate. It is the messaging, it is the simplicity of their messaging that, for whatever reason, resonates with so many Americans. And when you say, how? That's what I keep saying. Have we really all been beaten in the head with the stupid stick, where a guy who does things like what this administration is doing, lies to us every single day? We have the press secretary coming out on a daily basis and lying to our faces as if we are all stupid. And what happens? There's polls that come out, New York Times, for example, that turn around and say his favorability rating is either flat, meaning he didn't lose a single individual, or it has risen by 3 to 4 points. That, my friends, is danger. It's danger because I really do believe, and I'm not saying this to be hyperbolic or to be somewhat controversial, I believe if tomorrow the midterm elections took place, I don't think Democrats would be happy with the outcome, not even close. And that worries me. It's also one of the reasons why I am so thankful that 5.5 years ago, I met my co-host, Ben Meiselas. Then I met through him the brothers. And I joined Midas Touch Network on my Mea Culpa podcast. that has now achieved over 500 million downloads to date. Okay? Thanks to the Midas Touch Network right there at the bottom. And why do I say this, especially now? And I'm not trying to be, I don't know, a pitch man. I'm thankful because watch mainstream, lamestream cable news media. I almost broke my fucking television last night as I watched Abby Phillips sitting there and placating this Republican on there who was lying to the American people. She said, well, you know, you do have a valid point. No, you don't. A lie is a lie is a lie. You don't have that here. What you may have is an opinion, but our opinions are predicated on something called facts. All right. It's something also, it's predicated on empathy and care and love for America's democratic republic. And I'm always concerned, not just for our political beatdown program, but I'm concerned for Midas Touch as a network. And I'm actually imploring every single one of you, make sure that you're not just subscribed here, but you subscribe to all the platforms, because you don't know what this crazy man and this administration is willing to do in order to shut this down. It's like why I walked basically away from TikTok and I went to Substack, where I am constantly on TikTok. I was being attacked not by the trolls, but by TikTok themselves. It is so important to have an outlet that you can go to for truth. And, you know, it's not just me who's acknowledging that. It's actually everyone. It's why they were #1 podcast. It's why that Midas Touch Network is #1 in a dozen different fields, why they won the Webby. And I say this really out of pride. Pride for Ben, for his brothers Brett and Jordy, for the entire group of individuals that are now affiliated, myself included, with Midas Touch Network. And I'm asking each and every one of you, including the puppy, I'm asking each and every one of you, share this network, share our individual platforms with all of your family and all of your friends. To those of you that follow me on Substack, I write at the end of each and every one of my Substacks, it is a call to action. If you sit on your feet, if you sit on your hands, if you sit back and do nothing, you are complicit in our losing our democratic rights. And I am so fortunate to be involved and attached to a network like Midas Touch that has 5 million people to it. But 5 million isn't going to win the election. 5 million is a good start, but it doesn't bring it to where we need to be. So if each one of you brings just one person, imagine what we're talking about. That's 10 million followers, subscribers overnight. And then after that, we'll ask you to bring 2 more until ultimately we're basically controlling the 51%. And I ask you to do it on my Substack. And I ask you to please follow me with my Mea Culpa podcast. It is so informative. There's so much information that is there that is factually accurate. My YouTube channel, we break it down for you, where I actually know Trump better than anyone. So from me, you don't just get what he's doing now, you get why he's doing it, and you also get the danger of him doing it, because I know what he's thinking. I was around the guy for a decade and a half every day, basically the entire day. And I said this. I said, look at the date on that. I mean, this is crazy. I talked about this when I was on MSNBC this Saturday. So that, my friends, is the pitch. Please follow us on the various different platforms, especially. Let's grow Midas Touch. Let's grow this network bigger than Fox News, bigger than CNN, bigger than MSNBC combined. Together, united, we win. Divided, well, you know the answer to that one.
You know, when I look to some of those polls, and I'm not really super poll focused right now, I still see in a generic Cohen, and this is from Atlas Intel, which was the top pollster in the 2024 elections. They have Democrats up 51% to 42% in the House of Representatives in their generic, and they pretty much nailed the last election. When I look at the New York Times, I still see Donald Trump at a -6. Nate Silver's 538 average, -5. A guy by the name of G. Elliott Morris, previously from ABC, 538. He's got Trump at a -8. And all of those have decreased from April 1 to May 28th, although they were lower 2 weeks after, like April 1, when the full impact of the liquidation day, which Trump calls Liberation Day, set in. But, I do think that when you watch, and I know the exact segment you're talking about with CNN, because we have our clippers, as we call them at the Midas Touch Network, watching all the news to see what's going on there, because I still am interested in knowing how are people, even though it's a smaller group of people, like how are they getting their news? And you had Scott Jennings and I think some other Republicans on that panel say, look, the Democrats spread all of these conspiracies all the time, is what they said. So why should we even worry that Donald Trump made a post saying that former President Biden was executed in 2020, and that a robotic Biden is now the Biden that was just diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, and it's a robot and not a real living Biden. And Abby Phillips, to your point, she goes, you make a good point there that Democrats do spread conspiracies. And then they talk about, well, because Democrats said that there was a Melania body double. And so they immediately take the current Donald Trump, who's the leader of the Republican Party and the president of the United States, and then they try to conflate it with something that was never said by a leader of the Democratic Party. That's like a fringy thing that nobody ever cared about, that if anything was kind of just like a joke to begin with. And they create the both sides right before our eyes, and then they move on to the next topic. Whereas you have Donald Trump literally making a post that says that Biden was executed in 2020 and a robot had replaced him, and he's making all of these QAnon posts. And the aggregate of that, has a serious impact. And here's my thing. If you're going to cover something like that, there's no both sides to it, because the Democrats aren't in charge of the country right now. Donald Trump, unfortunately, is, and the Republicans control the House and the Senate. That's just who it is. And so by bringing, by all of their focus on all of these other things, and then conflating Democrats and Republicans on Donald Trump's post, then, as I say, then what you should be talking about, if you can't handle even a story like that, is spend your time covering the fact that FEMA no longer has the resources to predict hurricanes efficiently, according to people who work at FEMA. They no longer have the capabilities because the Trump regime has gutted the National Weather Service and the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Agency. FEMA doesn't have the ability to predict hurricanes. Also, the head of FEMA reportedly said, and this has not been denied, although the Trump regime says it's a joke, that he was unaware that there was a thing called hurricane season. He didn't know that hurricane season was a thing. And then Karen Levitt said, it's an inappropriate question to ask us about it because of the fact that he was joking. And it's like, you're joking as the head of FEMA that you don't know what hurricane season is, like where people die of you think that's funny. But Cohen, for everything you throw at them, they have their pivots, because they're not held accountable.
Not pivots, talking points. It's what I was saying to you before. I used to work on them along with a handful of other guys, and every day before 8 o'clock in the morning, Those talking points were prepared. They were sent out to hundreds and hundreds of people. The list was amazing. It was amazing on anybody, anyone that was going to go out and be a surrogate. These are the talking points that you need to bring up. Donald Trump is the smartest president. He's the most successful president in the history of America, that he is the deal-making king. He's the greatest negotiator, that only Donald Trump can do this, yada, yada, and yada. And the crazy thing is, not only do you hear it from him himself, not only do you hear it when bullshit Barbie comes to the podium, or MAGA Mike Johnson goes to his podium, or Shady Vance, or any of them, or even including a bunch of the Republican, the GOP members of the House of the Senate, when they all go out, notice they say the exact same thing. Maybe they say it with a different word or two, but their talking points are spot on. And it doesn't matter the question. If you ever notice, a question is asked. I asked Ben, hey, how you feeling? Next thing he's talking about is a lampshade. That's the difference between what the question is that's asked and what they're answering. They only will answer as per the talking points memo. And why do they do this? Because they're scared shitless of Donald Trump. They're scared shitless of this administration. All of a sudden, I don't know if you saw this, the other day they were talking about Lindsey Graham. And you saw Stephen Miller come out. You saw Caroline Leavitt come out. You saw a slew of GOP administration folk come out and say the same thing, which we expect him to get in line. We expect him to vote for the big, beautiful bill. All right. If he has any issues or questions, he should be reaching out, as he can always, to the president to discuss it. However, we expect him to do it. If not, then he's certainly not part of this administration's ideology, and that we will then look to remove him and find somebody who is more in line, in step with the president's agenda. That, my friends, is an overt threat that is directed not for you, not for me, but straight to Lindsey Graham and to every other GOP senator right now who is considering a no vote on this ugly, big, beautiful bill. That's what it is. He is sending through everybody messages, including other senators in the GOP. We are in a dystopian world right now. And the reason that what I'm trying to impress upon everybody again is the need to build the community, because this stupidity has to come to an end. And it only comes to an end if we are all together, if we are all united, the same way that the GOP has united around ignorance. We want to unite around truth and upon empathy and upon the Constitution.
You just take a look at all of these lies after lies after lies. No peace in Ukraine after 24 hours. And I think about Donald Trump telling Zelensky, you don't have the cards. I mean, Trump's literally wrong about everything. You don't have the cards, after Zelensky showing now that he has the cards in an incredible attack on 35% of Russian strategic air fleet. What an incredible military plan was executed by Ukraine. Donald Trump saying that he would lower prices on day one. That didn't happen. That housing would be more affordable right away. That hasn't happened. Grocery prices would be less. That hasn't happened. He talks about these trade deals, 90 deals in 90 days. He hasn't done one deal. The UK thing wasn't a deal. You know how I know? Because there's no deal. We don't see it. It doesn't exist. The memorandum of understanding says this is not a binding deal. What he did with China wasn't a deal. It was a consensus where Donald Trump caved. Nothing that he said. Remember, was it 3 weeks ago? He said healthcare costs were going to go down 80% based on an executive order he signed where he claimed he was going to make pharmaceutical companies abide by a most favored nations clause, where they had to pay the same amount as the lowest amount they charge to any country in the world. Has your healthcare costs gone down
Nope.
80% because of Donald Trump's executive order? He lies about everything. There's not a single truth that is told. And then he has his propaganda team go out there, and these are vicious lies. These are lies that kill people, but then he papers over the lies with more lies, and then he has a compliant media that goes along with it and is like, I guess it's just too hard
and they
to cover
lie
it.
and they tell you how successful that the lie actually is. It's like it's living in a loop. It's like Groundhog Day, right? Where it just keeps happening over and over. He lies. We all know it's a lie. And we know that what he's lying about is not true. Look, I just picked up, for example, my migraine medication. It's enormously expensive, right? And I can tell you, I didn't get 80% off. That I can promise you. And I'm sitting there and I'm saying to myself, we all know it's a lie, but yet they all come out, every one of the surrogates, and say what? This is the greatest negotiation that they have ever seen coming out of the Oval Office in America's history. And you're like, well, you know what? There are things that, if in fact that what they were saying was true, would be fantastic for the American people. And I would actually commend Trump for doing it. But you can't do it simply because I say it, therefore it is. That's not how the system works. And just to parrot Ben one more time, because it's on my mind, that UK tariff scenario, the one that he's touting is the greatest negotiation, I need to remind each and every one of you that UK is one of the few countries that the United States actually has a trade surplus with, not a trade deficit, but a trade surplus. So you beat up on somebody who we're already making more money from than we pay them. That doesn't seem smart to me.
Yeah. And remember, he said that he's brought in $11.1 trillion already. I mean, it's just made up numbers. I brought in 11.1 trillion. From where? Where did you bring in 11.1 trillion? Like they just make everything up. All right. We're going to take our first quick break of the show. Everybody subscribe to Michael Cohen's YouTube channel at The Michael Cohen Show. Subscribe to patreon.com/political beatdown. I got to find the time to do that. It's on me. I've been having a lot of back issues lately. And so I've been at a lot of doctor's appointments. So I got to figure out when I can do the live. So I hope you all will bear with me as I kind of figure out what's going on with my back right now, but it's, I think, headed in the right direction at least, but who knows? And then everybody subscribe to the Mea Culpa audio podcast, wherever it's available. Subscribe to the Mea Culpa audio. All right, let's take our first quick ad break. We'll be right back. We've got a lot to discuss. Let's take a break.
So last week, I swung by my folks' place because I got that dreaded text. The TV's broken. Nothing's working. We think the cable company's out to get us. You know parents, right? So I walk in, and the input was on HDMI 3 instead of 1. That's it. Okay, click, boom, crisis averted, family peace restored, and I'm suddenly the son tech genius. Now listen, I love my parents, but helping them with tech over the phone? I mean, seriously, it's like trying to defuse a bomb in another language, blindfolded. And don't even get me started on video calls with the grandkids. I mean, every call starts with, can you see me? And ends with, where'd you go? Well, let me let you know, this podcast is brought to you by Jubilee TV, who happens to be the answer to our prayers. Jubilee TV connects your loved one's TV to your phone. So if the remote's acting up, if the channel's wrong, or they accidentally signed up for Spanish Netflix, well, you can fix it from anywhere. No apps to learn, no new tech. They just use the TV, same one that they've been yelling at for the last 20 years. Look, I got Jubilee TV for my parents last month, and it has been a total game changer. I mean, I can drop in virtually, put on their favorite TV shows. I could even help them join family video calls, all without being that kid who calls too much or not enough. I mean, they feel independent. I feel sane. Everybody wins. Meanwhile, their favorite feature? Easy video calls on the TV. No phone juggling of passwords. Mine? Setting reminders so they know that they're taking their meds and not missing appointments. I mean, it's like being present without being in their face. Look, your parents want to stay in their home. You want to keep them safe. Jubilee TV, it makes it possible for both of you. So head right now to getjubileetv.com and use code BEAT for $25 off your order. One more time, that's getjubileetv, GetJubileetv.com, and use code BEAT so that they know I sent you. Trust me, less stress, fewer panic calls, and everyone's watching what they actually want to watch. That, my friends, is a win.
Welcome back to Political Beatdown. I'm Ben Meiselas, joined by
Jubilee. Jubilee makes
me
my life a little easier.
No, it's actually it's a great product when you think about it. The amount of time it saved me with my mother-in-law who lives 45 minutes away is perfect. So Cohen, I want to talk about something from the end of last week that didn't get, I think, enough attention, but I think it plays into exactly what you and I are talking about here as well, which is, Donald Trump goes to Pittsburgh in front of the U.S. steel workers. And it's uncanny, his ability to do this. I mean, I'm not trying to give him credit for anything, but he shows up at U.S. Steel, a group of people in every way he's screwing over. I mean, he's going to screw these people over. He's not protecting them. He's taking away their union rights. He's going to make them very vulnerable to losing their jobs based on the potential acquisition by Nippon Steel. And he goes in front of them and he just starts saying things. You will all get a $5,000 bonus. I'm going to get a $5,000. What are you even talking about? I guarantee you U.S. Steel will still be controlled by the United States of America. What this really is, it's an investment from the Japanese company Nippon, but this is fully controlled by U.S. No. All right, show me the deal that says that then, because the deal we're aware of is the Japanese company Nippon is buying the American company and turning it into a wholly owned subsidiary. It'll still be called U.S. Steel, but it's going to be owned by a Japanese company. That gets the United Steel Workers Union a little nervous, because in the past, Nippon Steel has not abided by labor laws. Are they going to basically shut down the Pittsburgh facility in favor of other facilities that they have? How could you guarantee their investment into U.S. Steel is new money invested versus just what their operating costs are on a year-to-year basis? And the thing is, when you break anything down that Donald Trump talks about, he never shows you the deal. He never shows you the facts. It's always the press conference. He has the steel workers. They all dress up and they kind of stand behind him and clap. And I wonder if this is part of it also, Cohen. When you're on camera like that, like imagine you're the steel workers behind him, okay? You're clapping. You're all in on this. Your family sees you there, or you're the firefighters who Donald Trump delivers the pizza to, right? And it's probably a big day in your life. You're on TV. You see yourself. You get a visit from the president of the United States or a famous person, and you're there giving the thumbs up. I wonder, though, also, I'm not saying it's like a blackmail per se, like in an overt sense, but you're already pictured there all in. Now you have to confront your family and friends and everybody to admit that you were a sucker and a loser and that you got played by Donald Trump. I wonder if there's a part of it also after that. Once you're in, you have to kind of keep going in deeper to now justify that you've sold out your union brothers and sisters.
Yeah, the answer to that is no. So yes, the individuals that are standing behind, acting as props, there is a vetting of these individuals to see that they are supporters of Trump, of this regime, and and not hostile. However, they don't know what he's talking about. When he turns around, he goes that you're going to be receiving a $5,000 bonus, and they know that's not true. Okay, I could see them standing quiet waiting for the next. But then when he starts talking about things that they know better than he, this is their union. They've been at this job for many, many years. They know that it's going to hurt them. It's going to hit them in their pocket and take money out of their wallets, which is going to affect them and their families. You don't, like an idiot, stand there like a seal and clap. You see, even the seal doesn't clap until after he gets fed. That's not what's happening here. They're basically asking these morons to clap simply because Trump speaks. And the words that he's emanating are words that are detrimental to them. And so you say to yourself, who would do such a thing? So, Ben, imagine, I'm sitting here on this program. Ben, join me for a second. And I turn around and I say, okay, today we're going to sit and we're going to praise Donald Trump's determination in terms of removing women's reproductive decision-making rights via the Dobbs decision and destroying 50 years of stare decisis. And all of a sudden, you start clapping. And then I turn around and I say, we're going to dismantle the Department of Education simply because, I don't know, it's too woke. And you start applauding this. And then and then we go ahead and we start talking about the various other things like the price of eggs. And we start talking about how he has brought down the price of gasoline to $1.99. And if anybody that's following with us right now has paid $1.99, please tell me where you're getting your gas from, because I would presume that it's probably water, not gas. But you then start clapping, Ben. And then you turn around and you say, wait, I'm clapping for lies. I'm clapping like a puppet. So the question becomes, who do you care more about? And I'm now talking to these individuals at the steel mill. Who do you care more about? The Instagram meme that somebody's going to like and say, wow, it must have been cool to meet the president, or your family, or yourself? Who do you care more about? America or a 5-minute facade? That's the problem. And that's why I am certain that at the end of the day, as more and more of these policies start to hit Americans in their pocketbooks, again, let's just talk tariffs for 2 seconds. Consumers pay tariffs. Tariffs are taxes. When you go to the store and they tell you that an item you used to pay $10 for is now $18, and you're like, why? Tariffs. Understand that Trump lied to you. This administration lied to you. Howard Lutnick lied to you. Scott Bessent lied to you. The other guy, Hassan, whatever his name is, the smiling moron, he lied to you every single time that they get to the podium and they tell you that tariffs are paid for by or paid from the country of origin. Yeah, maybe they're paying a tax, but so are you, because the retailers are charging you because the suppliers are charging them. It's just simple economics, plain and simple.
Speaking of the tariffs, Donald Trump beating his chest at that speech and at the U.S. Steel factory announces that he's going to do 50% tariffs on steel and aluminum, raising him from 25 to 50%. Now, the United States was involved, who knows, ostensibly in negotiations with Canada, with the European Union, with Australia, with other countries around the world to try to deal with, redoing trade. But, these other nations, they're still prideful, strong, sovereign nations. And their negotiating position is that we want to do free trade with the U.S. Let's come up with great deals. But you can't declare economic warfare on us and then expect us to negotiate on that basis. And so, you know, you have Trump negotiating a trade deal with India, and while negotiating a trade deal with India, Trump says something like, you know who got that ceasefire deal done between India and Pakistan? I did. I dangled some trade in front of India and they begged for me to help them. And I said, I got your back. Now in India, they're like, that's not what happened. Stop insulting our country. We negotiated the ceasefire on a bilateral basis with Pakistan because of a successful military operation. You had nothing to do with it. And then stop telling Apple and Samsung they can't build manufacturing plants in India. We want them to build manufacturing plants, and that could benefit the United States by bringing down the costs of iPhones, and we could have win-wins that we could find alliances for. So he like constantly is screwing up these, you know, these deals.
Every country is coming and begging. They're coming in there, kissing the ring. They all want to do business with America. It's just not true. And the countries themselves, Ben, come out and they say, yeah, that's not accurate. You know, we're not capitulating. Look at China. I mean, for God's sakes, very soon we're going to see guaranteed supply chain shortages. And that's when American citizens, Americans are going to start to feel the cost to them. It's shameless lying.
And he makes it worse when he capitulates, brings back the 145 to 30, pretends there's a deal that he and Xi Jinping are going to talk and figure other things out. They don't. 30% is still essentially an embargo against China. Like if you're running a business and you have a supplier in China, and now there's a 30% tax on you in the United States, and your profit margins are, I'll even be generous and say your profit margins are 10%. You can't do business there. So now you have to look elsewhere. Who are my other suppliers? Do I find them in Vietnam? Where do I find them? Even if I wanted to start building a factory in the United States, it'll be not built for the next 4 or 5 years. And then it'll cost too much to build the product itself. So what do? Then you believe there's a deal. Then Trump changes the deal. And now you're just left in limbo. And the issue is that we have all these businesses kind of just treading water right now. And eventually, when you tread too long, you run out of breath. You're going to run, your muscles aren't going to work after a while. And so you have to give credit not to Trump, but to the ingenuity of American businesses, small, medium, and big, that have been able to stay afloat temporarily, planning to deal with this chaos. But ultimately, it's going to break. And we're going to see it break. And
it has no choice but to break. And it can't not break, because when you have 9 out of 10 of the top economists turning around and telling you that this is not how tariffs work, it's just not how it works. They're not going to lose money to provide you with a product, because Trump turns around and he says, I reached out to the CEO, and I turned around and said, you can't raise prices. You got to keep prices the same. They have shareholders that they have to answer to. They have a market that they have to answer to. If you raise 20%, and as Ben said, the profit margin is 10%, you are now taking a loss in order to provide a product to the general public. That's not how business works. And coming from a guy who claims to be the #1 businessman of all time, you understand the rules of business, of economics. People don't sell product in order to lose money. So understand, consumers pay tariffs. Plain and simple. And the more that somebody sticks a mic in your face, the more that you're engaging in conversation with someone from the other side, and they tell you that the China is going to be paying the tariffs. Bullshit. Consumers pay tariffs. Tariffs are taxes. Repeat it until you are hoarse, because that's all that we need. And once everybody starts feeling it in their pocket, you will once again know that what you heard today by Ben and I right here on Political Beatdown is 100% accurate.
We'll take our last quick break of the show. You're hearing my dog Taco, not Trump always chickens out. His name is Taco.
Ben, you were ahead of your time.
Exactly. Although now I want to say Taco, but you know, I'm not sure I want my dog to be associated with Taco. But anyway, we'll take our last quick break of the show. Reminder, subscribe to Michael Cohen's podcast, the Mea Culpa podcast. Subscribe to his YouTube channel at The Michael Cohen Show. And we'll be doing a Zoom soon on our Patreon, patreon.com/political beatdown. I just got to figure it out. I probably have about 2 or 3 weeks that I've just been going doctor to doctor. And so after the show, I run to a doctor and then I run back and do videos. So just trying to keep everything afloat, but we'll do a Patreon soon. So we'll take a quick break. We'll be right back after these quick messages.
All right. So picture this. I'm on my way out the door, trying to look halfway respectable for a meeting, and boom, Marlo, you know, you've heard Marlo, my neighbor's cat, sprawled across the hallway like he pays rent. Cute little furball, right? Wrong. Because 5 minutes later, I'm sneezing like I just walked through a field of ragweed in a wind tunnel. I mean, I don't even own a cat, and I'm still dealing with cat allergens. The whole thing is just totally unreal. This episode of Political Beatdown is brought to you by Pacgen. Now, if you've got a cat, or in my case, a neighbor's cat who thinks he's mine, you don't have to surrender your sinuses to the feline overlords. You see, almost 20% of people suffer from cat allergens, and 3 in 4, they're not thrilled with the so-called solutions that are out there. That's where Pacgen steps in. Pacgen's cat allergen neutralizing spray. It's like sending a tactical team into your living room. And it doesn't mess with your immune system. It goes straight after the actual allergens in your home, and it breaks them down with no pills, no shots, no voodoo, just science. You see, it turns out that the problem isn't the fur. It's the saliva. Cats groom like it's their job. And FeLD1, that's the protein behind most cat allergens. It's all over their adorable faces. Now, Pacgen's patent-pending whisker block protein, it binds and it neutralizes these FeLD1. No harsh chemicals, no side effects. I literally sprayed some around last week before my buddy who dropped by. And he's one of those that I'll die if I breathe near a cat type. And for literally the first time, no red eyes, no wheezing, just him wondering if Marlo had moved out of the building. It's effective, safe, and made for people who love their pets or their neighbor's pets, but not the sneezing fits. Got a dog? Dust allergies? Pacgen's got sprays for that too. I love that they're not trying to trick your immune system. They're just handling the source of the problem. Smart, simple, and safe for both people and pets. Your pets aren't just pets. They're family, right? So get the relief you need with Pacgen. Head right now to Pacgen.com/beat for an extra 25% off your order and an exclusive gift for our listeners at checkout. That's Pacgen.com/beat for an extra 25% off your order and an exclusive gift. One last time, Pacgen, Pacgen.com/beat for an extra 25% off and a gift auto apply to checkout. Because listen, if I can live peacefully with Marlo, you can live peacefully with your pets too.
Welcome back to Political Beatdown. Great ad read. And the discount codes are in the description below, so check them out. And Jordy spends a long time negotiating with our sponsors. And we don't have outside investors here, so it goes a long way to try to help us. So everybody check that out. I saw a few people asking, the issue with my back is it's a herniated disc in the L5-S1. And so we're trying to avoid surgery if we can, but it seems that it needs surgery. And it's just, you know, it started when I was in New York, and it's just gotten like excruciating over time. And so, you know, I take these meds that like make me drowsy now, and it's just the worst. We are bulldozing through it though. Cohen, Caroline Leavitt's press conference today. I want to contrast that. And I thought Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries gave actually an A+ press conference today. I want to compare and contrast with you. Here you have Caroline Leavitt being asked about they call it their MAHA report, Make America Healthy Again report, where they basically did the entire report using fake AI citations and like they attributed articles to authors who didn't write the articles. And this is what they were using to justify things like taking away vaccines and other things. Here, listen to her response.
I just wanted to follow up on your statement last week regarding the MAHA report. Sure. You said that there was, you said, I understand there were some formatting issues with the MAHA report that are being addressed, and that report will be updated. We also understand that since that, there have been some citations that came about. There's citations of studies that either did not exist or did not back up the report's conclusions. So when you were referring to formatting errors, is that what you were talking about, or was it, could you just explain that?
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. There were formatting errors, and those errors were updated by the proper policy components here at the White House, and a new report was issued. So exactly what I said took place. Sure.
Did you see the expression on her face? I mean, she was angry from the second that they brought up that question. You could see it, and she's trying to wince a smile, but nope.
And what they can never do is just say, you know what? We thought it was accurate. We were wrong. We're moving on. We ask for forgiveness if this impact, right? I mean, it's a pretty simple thing to do. People make mistakes. It's a pretty big one considering that it's going to impact the health of hundreds of millions of people in America. But, you know, you make a mistake, you move on. They just cover up the mistake, and they cover up the cover-ups.
And then they double down and triple down. Yeah.
So here she's asked about what's up with these 90 deals in 90 days. You haven't done any deals yet. And their new position that they've been now saying for 2.5, 3 weeks is basically like, we don't need to do deals because it becomes a deal. We're going to just send letters to the countries and tell them what the number is, and then that's the deal. So we're going to do the deals in 90 days. Here, play this clip.
Reuters was reporting that there's a letter that is meant to be sent to other countries, which would give these countries a deadline of Wednesday to produce their best offer on the trade matter. Why does the administration feel the need to send this letter? And I have one more follow-up on trade.
Sure, I can confirm the merits in the content of the letter. USTR sent this letter to all of our trading partners just to give them a friendly reminder that the deadline is coming up. And they are in talks. Ambassador Greer, Secretary Bessent, Secretary Lutnick are in talks with many of our key trading partners around the globe. As you know, Brian, I know the Wall Street Journal has covered this quite heavily, and they continue to be engaged in those discussions. And this letter was simply to remind these countries that the deadline is approaching and the president expects good deals, and we are on track for that, I will emphasize.
On the trade side, though,
they're not on track for that at all. Like they're not at all.
It's just another lie. It's just another lie.
Let me contrast that with Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries. Here he talks about MAGA Republican Senator Joni Ernst saying how everybody's going to die. And then he's like, look, yes, we understand that human beings will die. We just don't expect to die from Republican cruelty. Here, play this clip.
So you have the senator from Iowa say, in response to a question that was heartfelt about people dying prematurely because they're going to lose health care coverage under the GOP tax scam, that everyone's going to die. Yes, Joni, we know, the American people know that at some point in their lives, they are going to pass away. The cause of death should not be Republican cruelty. The cause of death should not be this disgusting abomination of a bill. The cause of death should not be the reckless Republican effort to rip away health care from millions of people and rip food out of the mouths of starving children or veterans in the United States of America.
Right, Cohen? It's like, what are we talking about? I mean, the Republican bill is literally a murder bill. It's a bill that kills Americans. And the Republican messaging of it is, you're all going to die, so let us kill you. And everything that Hakeem Jeffrey said there was rational and on point. It's a wild concept to me that that's one side of the argument. And then there's another group of people who go, no, look, we're all going to die somehow. And the real big problem actually here is that the billionaires need more tax cuts. We're taxing the billionaires way too much money, way too much money. You know, who I've really been appreciating lately is Congressmember Ro Khanna, Democrat, because he represents the Silicon Valley congressional district with the most billionaires anywhere. And he goes, tax my constituents more. They deserve to be taxed more. And then he goes, and this is one of my favorite lines that he says, he goes, I represent the most billionaires, and I'm saying tax my constituents. If I can say it, then what the hell are you all saying it? Two-finger salute, Cohen. Who does it go to?
Look, it has to go once again to bullshit Barbie. I've had enough. Honestly, you know, there's the promotion of the lie, and it's not even the fact that we know she's lying, but it's the entire attitude that she gives off when she's answering questions. If you don't want the job, if you can't accept somebody asking you a question that isn't, hey, so what did the president have for breakfast this morning? And did he thoroughly enjoy it? Right? How did he sleep last night? You know, who pressed his suit, and why does his suit always look so great? If you're not giving one of these sort of stupid questions that are prepared, like from what's her name's husband, she gets angry and she's pissed off that you dare to ask a question that the American people have a right to know. And we want the answers to these questions because you are the one that is disseminating the untruth, which is so easily verified, because there are dozens and dozens of reports that turn around and say the opposite. And so when you question them regarding the inaccurate statements that they're making, she just gets pissed. She shuts you down. She moves on to the next person. She's not even doing it anymore with a smile. Now it's just an outright grin on her face. It's just sort of that smug sort of fuck you attitude to the American people, simply because a journalist is asking a question that she doesn't want to hear. And so bullshit Barbie, enough. If it's too much to handle, which I could understand, I really can. It's too much to handle. Step aside. Let somebody else do it. And for that, you get the two-finger salute.
It's why I also actually in these dark times feel hope. You know, I go back to Elon Musk fighting with Trump. I go back and I think about the protests, No King's Day coming up June 14th, where I think there's going to be tens of millions of Americans across the country ruining Donald Trump's party for himself with the military tanks that he's going to have rolling through DC and the helicopters and all of the things that Trump is spending our taxpayer dollars on while cutting our health care and cutting essential services. You know, I view the resistance as being stronger than, frankly, it ever was, even during Trump's first term, you know, which I think accelerated towards the end. And I think that I think people are pissed. I think people are livid. I think there is still an aspect, Cohen, of people not getting the news. And I think that's where we have to be relentless in our schedule here at the Midas Touch Network and getting the news out there every day. And that's why, you know, we do 12 podcasts a day, 2 live podcasts a day, the content output from Midas Touch, and then our sister and brother channels are relentless because we know we need to get the information out there in front of everybody. But I actually feel optimistic about what we can achieve together from these very, very dark times. Like, it's not going to get better anytime soon. You know, I'm aware of that. It's going to get worse and worse because the landmines that Donald Trump has created on things that we're not even thinking of, student loan debt right now, that's accelerated, and negative credit history reporting. The fact that credit card debt is basically reaching an all-time high, and we're seeing delinquencies there. When we see how people are funding their own groceries, an all-time high using kind of loans to pay for their groceries now, buy now, pay later loans that accelerate, and people are going to struggle to pay those back. I see Donald Trump creating all of these systemic weaknesses in fundamental aspects of our country, but I do see an opportunity in this darkness to, the same way that they've taken a wrecking ball to try to rebuild for future generations and to hand future generations a better opportunity and a better world. And we'll be leading that every step of the way here at the Midas Touch Network. I think this regime can be defeated. I think that this MAGA Republicans can be defeated. I recognize the potency of their fraud, especially when people are inundated with such bad information out there from corporate news, but that's why we got to build. That's what we're going to do here at the Midas Touch Network. So
together,
hit subscribe. Let's get to 5 million subscribers here. Subscribe to Cohen's YouTube channel at The Michael Cohen Show. Make sure you subscribe to the Mea Culpa audio podcast, wherever podcasts are available. Search Mea Culpa. And then also check out patreon.com/political beatdown. When I feel better, I'm going to do one there. I just have to kind of manage my time and the pain. If
not, I may have to just get Jordy to come join me.
Yeah, which people probably would prefer anyway. So thank you, everybody, for watching. We appreciate you. Shout out Beatdown Brigaders. Shout out Midas Mighty. And we have another video just dropping right now about Elon Musk throwing Trump and MAGA Mike under the bus. So as soon as this ends, everybody who's watching this live, go to the main feed and click on that Elon Musk video that I just posted. Have a great day, everybody.